This week of Storyboard, we are catching up with Ravi Desai, Director Marketing Amazon India, about how the festive season is panning out and what are consumers buying and which categories are doing well online. We are also speaking with Mohit Joshi, CEO, Avas Media Group, on advertising spends around the festive season and the impact of not getting individual weekly data for news journal. And we have Ogilvy's Sukesh Naik and Mondelez's Anil Vishwanathan on their Not Just the Cadbury ad innovation around the festive season. Hello and welcome to Storyboard. This is Shivani Gharat. There is no doubt that this pandemic has brought about a significant change in the consumer behavior, with online players becoming the biggest gainers. So how exactly is this festive season panning out? Is the consumer behavior here to stay even after the festive season? And which categories are doing well? Well, we get these questions answered as Storyboard's Ankita Saxena speaks to Ravi Desai, Director Marketing, Amazon India. Listen in.
Hi Ravi, welcome to CNBC TV 18. Many thanks for joining us.
Hey Ankita, thanks for having me.
Ravi, we are in the thick of the festive season. Now, this year has been very different from the rest of the years. We saw some unprecedented times with COVID-19, which gave a massive boost to online platforms. Now, how does the festive season look like this year vis-a-vis the last year in terms of the sellers added, the products, and the sales online?
Yeah, absolutely, Ankita. It's been a pretty unique year, and quite early in the process, we picked up a couple of key insights through our customer work. Right, one was that customers don't want to be reminded of the tough times that they have been through or are living through. Diwali carries with it a certain positive sentiment, which remains sacrosanct even through a year like 2020. There is a sense of optimism where people want to look forward rather than reflect on the tough year that it has been. That actually led to the campaign proposition that we took for the Great Indian Festival this year, where we said "Khushiyon pe na rok lagao, Amazon Great Indian Festival manao," which was more inclined towards the positivity that we heard our customers seeking through the festive period. We had a different construct this year, where instead of having a stop-start kind of a many phase sale event, we decided to sort of open it up for the entire month. We started with Prime Early Access, and that's typically the way in which we have operated with the Diwali sale, where we offer to our Prime customers early access to the best of selection, the best of deals. We saw great adoption of Prime happen on the back of what we have done for our Prime members right through the last few years, including this Diwali. And we had a fair amount of traction both on the Prime sign-up side as well as the the engagement that we saw coming out of our Prime base for the shopping festival this year. If I talk about the seller customer, right, we had almost 1.2 lakh sellers receive at least one order through the Amazon Great Indian Festival. In fact, sellers spread across the country. So at last count, close to 6,300 plus PIN codes and sellers from 6,300 plus PIN codes have received at least one order through the Amazon Great Indian Festival. Just goes to show the scale at which the entire seller ecosystem has also sort of benefited during the Great Indian Festival. In fact, one stat that stayed with me was the fact that close to 600 sellers have seen more than 1 crore in sales through the Great Indian Festival. Right, that's phenomenal from a the kind of revival that they would have seen coming out of the tough few months that India went through, and almost 6,500 sellers have seen more than 10 lakhs in sales through the Great Indian Festival, and we are not done yet. At the customer end, a couple of stats that pop out is that firstly, there was huge traction across the country. We saw orders from 99.3% of India's PIN codes. Prime customers, in almost 98+% of India's PIN codes, we had at least one Prime member ordering during the Great Indian Festival.
Ravi, what are the consumer trends that you're seeing this festive season, given the economic situation where there are job losses, salary cuts? Are you seeing any downtrading or what is popularly known as the lipstick effect, where the consumer downtrades to a less expensive item instead of going a luxury big ticket purchase?
Right. We were quite curious to see how the Great Indian Festival and the customer adoption towards various categories, price points within categories, etc., would pan out. Much like what you were anticipating in your question as well. But here are a few things that stand out. Right. Firstly, from our input side, we had six top banks and issuers and one payment network partner with us to offer credit, affordability levers to our customers through the Great Indian Festival, right? And through these seven partners, we estimate that more than 35 crore credit and debit card holders in India had the option to access offers with Amazon through the Great Indian Festival. What we also saw was that, like I said earlier, credit to the amount of 2,700 crores was disbursed by partners. And we had almost a lakh and a half new to credit customers this year. So all in all goes to show that even in a year that it has been, customers were willing to sort of participate, were willing to fulfill some of their aspirations by accessing the affordability levers that we managed to put together for them. Three out of every four EMIs were actually no-cost EMIs, and that's again a big relief for a customer who's wanting to buy a big ticket item on EMI. And without having to worry about the cost that comes typically associated with an EMI purchase, right? And by the way, three out of four EMI shoppers came from tier two and tier three cities in the country. So, if ever there was an indicator of democratizing consumption, democratizing demand fulfillment, here are some of those stats. Now, you talked about downtrading. I don't think we had, too much of that happen, at least not to our understanding. A couple of stats here. So India, again, I think 50% of all premium smartphones that were bought on Amazon were actually 5G ready, right? If you talk about iPhones were a big draw, especially in the first couple of weeks of the festival, and customers purchased on Amazon during the Great Indian Festival more iPhones in these 29 days by the time we finish than the entire of last year.
Ravi, you mentioned how iPhones are doing very well and seeing an uptick, but usually phones and white goods usually see a pickup during the festive season. Besides these categories, what are the brands and categories that are doing well this festive period?
Yeah, I think it's a mix of two big trends if you ask me, right? One is the Diwali trend, where you typically see homes upgrade, large appliances, buy consumer electronics. Smartphones are always a big draw. Personal electronics, Bluetooth headsets, music related devices are always a big draw, which to me continued this year as well, which is the Diwali trend. And then there is the 2020 trend, which is more around health, hygiene, home office setup, study from home setup, grocery products, which were more, related to the times that we are going through. Things like oximeters, things like, three-layer masks, and so on, were also a part of the trend.
Finally, Ravi, now there is no doubt that the pandemic has altered and changed the consumer buying behavior. Now, the consumers are buying every little thing online because they are wary of going outside. What has been the percentage increase in the number of consumers buying online, and what are the major trends that you're seeing post the lockdown? And are these trends likely to sustain post COVID and the festive season, or is it too early to say that?
People are looking for convenience of shopping from home as well as the safety of not having to step out, right? And that's one thing that we saw. Like I said, in as much as we were talking about home electronics, personal electronics, there was enough demand for personal hygiene products as well. So like I mentioned, health products, oximeters, masks, and so on. So that's one big trend, which is customers are seeking convenience. Customers are looking for the option of buying from the safety of their homes. The second big trend is what customers are going through. So if you can't travel, you probably gift to loved ones across the country. So we saw a lot of that happen as well. And then there is the other trend of, everything is becoming home centered right now. So you work from home and then you need devices to set up literally a home office. Kids across the country are studying from home, and therefore you need some devices, the equivalent of furniture, etc., to almost set up a little classroom of sorts within the home itself.
All right, Ravi, thank you so much for joining us and wish you a very happy Diwali.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and wishing you as well as the rest of India a very happy Diwali.
It is time for us to take a short break. On the other side of this break, we are catching up with Mohit Joshi, CEO, Avas Media Group, about spends around this festive season. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard. Avas Group India recently announced the elevation of Mohit Joshi as the Chief Executive Officer of Avas Media Group. We are catching up with Mohit today about his new role, also what lies ahead for Avas Media Group, also what is the kind of recovery around this festive season, bark, and much more.
Mohit, welcome to Storyboard.
Thank you very much, Ivani.
Congratulations on your new role. Can you tell us what has really changed for you?
Thanks a lot for the good wishes. It's an important role, but I've been with the organization for more than 14 years now, and I've seen the growth and the progression, and I've been a very, very integral part of that as well. However, I was an MD for the last 5 years, 5+ years, in fact, and largely looking at the overall India responsibilities. But yes, CEO is not just a designation, but a big responsibility that comes along with it. I'm really very excited and honored to be leading the Havas Media Group to the next, I would say, phase of growth. So we have grown, and now there is a new phase of growth that I am intending to be embarking on, and I'm really very happy and proud to be associated with the organization.
So what are the key things? Yes, what are the key things that we should look forward to, since you mentioned the next phase of growth for Avas Media Group? What are the things that we should look forward to from Avas in the coming days?
Over the years, the focus on India has increased. So, in the last, I would say, 3 years, there have been a lot of acquisitions that you would have heard of. It started with Sorrento, which has now become Havas Life Sorrento, the healthcare division. Then we acquired Think Design, a high-end UI UX group. We acquired Langur, which is a digital transformation group. Showbiz, which is into experiential, and a couple of others in the offering, which I will.
So more acquisitions in the pipeline.
That's right. So the global focus is actually increased in India, and they feel that this is a country which can really, grow significantly. And that's what my job is, to ensure that we step up the growth significantly over here. And the other important thing that Havas has is this unique together philosophy. It's about working together, innovating together, and winning together. When I say together, it is about integrating all our offerings under one roof. So we have a Havas village where you have creatives, digital media, content, experiential, everybody sitting together. And that's how we approach our clients. While I know that today the mandates are fragmented, and it is not an integrated mandate across, but we have offerings, and we do go to our clients saying that we have an integrated offering. If you want, we can bring the entire offering to you. And this is also relevant today because the thin line between creative, media, digital is all blurring, right? Content, which a media agency does, and content which a creative agency does, is kind of merging, and which is why it's important to have this integrated philosophy. And I think we at Havas have been the first ones to do that. So in India, under Rana's leadership, the entire group works, and that's the uniqueness of this group, which no other group has. So I think that's a very big opportunity that we have to take to the market, and we've started doing that already. And clients are taking a lot of interest, because this is the integrated philosophy of the yesteryears.
Okay. Also, Mohit, you've stepped into the role of a CEO at the time when, we are right in the thick of the festive season. Also at a time when the advertising industry is showing a good deal of recovery as compared to the COVID times, as compared to the past couple of months, on the back of IPL, of course, on the back of the festive spends. Can you tell us or give us a perspective? How are your clients reacting? What are the platforms that they are spending on? What is the kind of messaging that is going on different channels?
So, before festive, IPL happened, and that was, I think, the first good news for all of us, because until IPL happened, there was a lot of depression in the industry, and spends were not happening. With IPL, a lot of spends started happening, and with the festive season approaching, obviously, this is the only opportunity or the only window of opportunity that the clients have this year to sell their products in a big way, because the second quarter, or rather 6 months of this year, have been completely shut down. So there is a lot of action that I'm seeing, and especially with clients that we handle, auto clients like Hyundai and Kia. They are seeing a lot of action, a lot of recovery, because there is a vengeance spending, I would say, that's happening from the consumers, and especially in the auto segment, there is a huge amount of recovery that I see. And obviously, when there is recovery, there are new launches that happen. There is a lot of media support also that happens along with it. The other domain, the e-commerce platforms, obviously they are spending, because what the pandemic has done, it's actually accelerated our digital transformation by 2 years, or rather, brought it earlier by 2 years. And today, all of us are digitally transformed, and the importance of these e-commerce platforms in our lives has significantly increased. They used to be important, but today the importance has significantly increased, and because of that, I see a lot of traction happening in those domains as well. We handle a lot of them ourselves, and we see the traction happening. We handle Swiggy, and now Swiggy is back to very close to pre-COVID numbers.
Okay. Mohit, this was also the time when news as a genre saw exponential growth in terms of viewership. Of course, people tuned into news to get their updates on the pandemic, on COVID-19. Then, of course, there are US elections, there are elections in the states in the country. But also at the same time, people and a lot of brands were put off by the kind of toxicity that we saw on news channels with around the Sushant Singh Rajput case. And then, of course, there was this whole new scam that came into picture of the bark TRP manipulation. How are your clients reacting to this whole thing? Are they holding back their spends? Are they raising their concern around this issue? What is their reaction?
Yes, there is no two ways about the fact that the news viewership has significantly increased during the pandemic, because that's the time when people wanted to know about what's happening around them, and the numbers, counting the numbers, which is the reason why I have seen news has become an important and integral part of our client strategies, right? Whether it's English news or Hindi news or regional news, depending on the requirement. So that particular change has significantly happened. The larger discussion is around the content. I would be honest, there are discussions that are happening around in the client parlance around the kind of content that's happening on news. It's not new. I think, for a long time, news and entertainment, the thin line had become kind of, had blurred. So there are serious discussions that are happening. Some clients see a concern, and, it's a case-to-case basis. I would say there is no one solution to it. But I feel that the news channels are also introspecting, because the numbers have been stopped, the TRP numbers have stopped. So there is an introspection that's definitely happening, and during this no rating period that we are in right now. And I feel that we will come out far more stronger as a platform. News will come out far more stronger as a platform. We are using the trends and we are using our gut, because that's more important and a mix of both to do planning on the news platforms. So I don't think it changes anything significantly from the perspective of planning. Yes, individual ratings and immediate ratings are not available, but trends are there. Plus, at the same time, as I said, there are very many qualitative factors also that play, and between the two, we plan.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us today.
Perfect.
It is time for us to take a short break. On the other side of this break, we are speaking with Ogilvy's Sukesh Nayak and Mondelez's Anil Vishwanathan on their Not Just a Cadbury ad innovation around the festive season. Welcome back. You're watching Storyboard. Over the years, Mondelez India has promoted itself and its products as that perfect gifting option around the festive season. But this year, they are extending this attribute to lack of products made by local retailers from across the country who have been suffering due to the pandemic. Along with their creative partner Ogilvy India, they have created a hyper-personalized ad using artificial intelligence to tap a product sold by more than 1,800 local retailers. To tell us more about this innovation, today we are catching up with Sukesh Nayak from Ogilvy India and Mondelez Anil Vishwanathan together.
Anil, Sukesh, welcome to Storyboard.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Shivani. Glad to be here.
So, is Diwali aap kise khush karenge? From speaking about families, speaking about relationships, this year you're talking to businesses, having businesses featured in your TVC. Can you tell us a bit more about this entire idea and thought?
Sure, Shivani. I think, as you know, for Cadbury Dairy Milk and Cadbury Celebrations, we've been talking about this theme of generosity now for 3 years. We started 2 years back, linked to a global proposition change, where the brand has now picked up the purpose of generosity and inspiring people to be generous and connecting with others. Closer to the festival, when we were thinking about how does this idea manifest itself during this Diwali, one of the points that came up is the fact that it's not just about people who want to celebrate Diwali, but also there are many, many others for whom Diwali may not be as happy as it is for us. And how do you bring in that thought that it's not just about us and our celebrations? And when we discuss with consumers, we always felt that it could possibly be a bit more of a reflective Diwali this time. I don't think people are going to go out there and celebrate with pomp. I think it's a little bit more muted, little bit more reflective kind of a celebration, where people are also concerned about what's happening to others. We wanted to tap into this kind of an insight, Shivani, and that's where Sukesh and his team at Ogilvy came up with this brilliant idea of, really, why don't we pick up our retailers around us? And they conceived this idea of working with the local retailers because they're impacted. They cannot advertise. They're struggling to get people into their stores. And these are all kinds of stores. This is not just stores that sell Cadbury gifts, but all kinds of gifts, right? How do we help? How can we create something around it?
Sukesh, you guys reached out to 1,800 plus local retailers and 260 plus PIN codes across the country. And you used AI to imbibe all of these in the ad. Can you tell us more on this?
So it was physically, manually listing of each stores which were highlighted in an ad. So obviously, as you see in the ad, we went after, electronics, we went after garments, we went after Shringar. So based on, in that locality, in that PIN code, we had to manually go get those stores to come be part of this. They said yes. Then we listed them. And then the technology kicked in because the algorithm picks up where you are watching this ad. And if the ad is working in your city, it picks up your location. And then based on location, serves you that ad, which is relevant to you and the stores around you.
Anil, did you guys face any challenges, and what were the key challenges, while you were executing this entire idea and innovation?
I think quite a few. I think as Sukesh said, Shivani, typically we also know that, it's great idea is great, but, how do we execute? So I think firstly, getting the entire ecosystem to be inspired and to believe that they can actually do it. And the truth is that within a few weeks, we were in a situation where we felt that great idea, but maybe we're not ready. There are so many challenges. Where is the data? Who goes to the retailer? Who convinces them? Quite a few challenges, and even for our tech partners, because we haven't done something like this before. I think the big question also was, can we pull it off on time?
What was the kind of impact of all of this on the local businesses? Did any of the businesses reach out to you saying that, okay, this really helped them? Because it's been a few days since you guys have released the ad.
Yes, they have, Shibani. While retailers have reached out, I think what is also very heartening is that consumers have reached out. And the way the message has spread, a lot of it organically, right, into local WhatsApp groups, each of them saying that, it's such a great idea. Look, our local store is in this ad, and this is a great thought. And the fact that somebody says this is a great thought, right, other than the fact that they're complimenting the piece of creative, it also is making them reflect that this is something that they would like to do.
We got amazing feedback. We got people from different clients, appreciating a thought. That's amazing.
How expensive is it to execute an innovation such as this as compared to a regular TVC around the festive season?
Firstly, I think the resources required at the back end to mount it, Shivani, is phenomenally more expensive because it's not automated, right? We have to do it for the first time. Maybe when we do it next year, we'll get far greater, interest from the users from the wider universe itself, and we can make it much bigger. But for this time around, mounting it in itself is quite expensive. And then the fact that I put something which is geo-targeted makes it a little bit more expensive. It is a more expensive asset. It gives much better returns, and the level of engagement that we get is significantly higher. So the ROI is still favorable, but as a tool, it is definitely more expensive.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Sukesh. Thanks, Anil. Thanks for speaking to us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Shivani.
With that, it's a wrap on Storyboard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back same time next week. See you soon. And before we go, here is wishing you a very happy Diwali and a prosperous New Year.